you and what inspired you to want to get into voice acting? So, Renae first, grew up in Michigan?
Yes, Lansing, Michigan.
Okay, so what was life like for you growing up? What kind of a kid were you, and what inspired you to want to get into voice acting, or just even acting in general, or was that initially a thought?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I was 6 years old, and my parents took me to see a play, actually a musical called Most Happy Fella. And after the show, I said to my mom, "That's what I'm going to do." And she took me seriously, which was lovely. So at the age of 6, she enrolled me in a class at Michigan State University. It was run by a woman who had a television show for children, and it was mainly with puppetry. And after that class, I think I was turned about 7 at the time, she said, Renee's really good, and I'd like to have her on my show. So at 7 years old, I started performing puppetry and doing voices on television at that age. And that was the beginning of what came for full circle to do voiceover.
Were you seeing things? Were you interested in like cartoons and animation? At what point did you get a sense of, there's like certain people doing these voices and they're making careers out of this?
I didn't have that sense. What happened was my parents we lived in Michigan, so we had a basement. In California, we don't have any basements. No basements. But we had a basement, and they set up kind of a playroom for me. And I had a record player with all of the collection of the Disney records that opened up. I don't know if any of you know. And the stories.
And book and record sets.
And listen to the records, and I just mimicked the voices. So I started copying all the voices from Disney and Alvin and the Chipmunks and you name it. And I didn't realize there were people behind it. I just copied what I was hearing.
What was the transition then? So you moved to LA, was it in like the early 80s?
No, I moved to Los Angeles when I was 9.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, oh my goodness, California, here we come.
Yeah, at 9.
At 9,
Okay.
Of course, I wanted to be an actor, which I was.
Yeah. So how did you start getting gigs at like that young, and then how did that change? Because I know at some point you appeared on game shows. I think you were doing like a lot of game shows and different things like that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it started with puppetry, and then when we moved to California, I got involved with children's theater, which continued with doing voices, and I did voices there's a theme park called Knott's Berry Farm. You familiar with that? So I did voices on the rides and for puppet shows there. I just kind of fell into these things. And then I actually really studied opera and musical comedy. And so that was really the direction I was going in. And when I finally came back to California after living in New York, my agent said, well, do you happen to do voices? I said, as a matter of fact, I do. So that's kind of the full circle. I ended up coming back to my roots, my beginnings.
Okay. I think it was My Little Pony. I wrote some Moon Dreamers. There was a Punky Brewster cartoon. I think you did voices on that too. Was it The Adventures of Don Coyote and Sancho Panda?
Yeah.
So all those different things, picking that up.
Hey, no.